Hello everyone and welcome back to Spooky Month, the month where I show you how to make some amazingly cool Halloween themed and spooky themed DIYs, baking videos and much more. So without further ado, let's get started. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to make some amazingly cool spooky Halloween themed props and decoration ideas all made from stuff found in Poundland. So the things you will need and the things that I found in Poundland are some rawhide knot bones. You can usually find these in Poundland, B&M, shops like that. A lot of them sell them. They can be any size you like. There was bigger ones, but I just wanted 4 really small ones. These ones are yellow, which is weird. Usually they're this kind of like cream kind of colour, but I found some yellow ones. I also found this, which I thought was really cool. So it's a down-in-one shot spin game. You're going to need this for one of the items as well. Inside there is a shot glass included and this little mechanism here which spins. And it says drink on it and it's kind of a game, but like a drinking game. So I think you put the shot here and then you spin it. It's like a spin the bottle kind of thing really, but I just thought this was a really cool idea and I'm going to make it terrifyingly spooky for y'all out there for your Halloween parties. Next thing I found was these. Now they are called wooden dibbers, and explained in the last video, they make it easier to plant bulbs and seeds for your garden. So these would be found in the garden section or maybe the homeware section, I'm not sure, but basically they're this weird kind of wooden shaped item here with a little leather strap. So that's those. And the last thing I found in Poundland was this, a homegrown taste better sign. It is made of metal, but they also do ones in there which are made of wood and some that are made of plastic. It's all up to your own preference. And of course, you can get different sizes, different shapes. Again, all up to your own preference. So let's go and make these things spooky. So the first thing you want to do is take your bones and try to unwrap them as quickly as possible. As you can see here, I had a bit of trouble. Then you want to lay your bones down on a surface that you don't mind getting dirty. Then take a white spray paint or a spray paint colour of your choosing and completely cover one side of the bones, making sure to get all the nooks and crannies. Then once they're dry, you want to flip them over and repeat the process on the other side. Then you want to get out some black thread, some scissors, and as you can see here I have a polystyrene skull. I got this from Hobbycraft for about £2 last year, but I didn't have the time to use it, so I thought I'd use it now. This part is completely optional and you don't need a skull. You can just hang your bones without it. I just thought it looked cooler. So take your black yarn and you want about 1 metre or 2, depending on how long you want your dangler and how much gap you want between your bones. Whether you want it longer or shorter is completely up to you. Just remember to cut enough to tie around the bones once each time. Then what I did was take my polystyrene skull and some scissors, and using the sharp edge of the scissor I pushed into the polystyrene ball to make a hole. I then turned it over and repeated on the other side because my scissors weren't quite long enough, as you can see. Then I took my black cotton and put it into the snips side of the scissors. Try saying that 10 times fast. And doing this allowed me to push the cotton all the way through the skull, where I was then able to knot it onto the piece of thread that actually came out of the skull, as you can see. But if you're not using a skull, you can just tie a loop and use that to hang your decoration off of. I then laid down the skull and the string, and using a double knot I tied my bones onto the string, making sure there was enough space between each one so that each bone could move freely in the wind. And there you have it. This is our first DIY, our very own creepily handmade Halloween wind chime. And feel free to add loads of different things onto yours. You can add feathers, you can add bells, you can add bits of glass, you can add real bones if you like. This is just one of the many variants of wind chimes that you can make. Just remember the possibilities are endless, and your only limit is your imagination. The next DIY we have here requires the 3 wooden dibbers we got from Poundland. And the first thing I did was lay down some black paper because I don't want to ruin my backdrop / table cover. I know I had it last year, but I still don't want it to get ruined, and I'm pretty sure you don't want your surfaces to get ruined either. So I suggest protecting your surfaces with something. Next, take one of your dibbers and remove the leather strap. And you don't see me doing this in my video. I don't actually put these back in, but you can keep these pieces and put them back in if you like. I then took some light brown acrylic paint, started painting, and then realised actually I don't like this shade of brown. So I stopped, waited for it to dry, and then covered it in a much darker brown, as you can see here. Then using my Poundland paintbrush, I then completely covered my dibber in brown paint and then set it aside to dry. And whilst that's drying, I took my second dibber and some Das air drying clay. I took a little bit of that, rolled it into a ball or a sausage depending on what you think's easier, dabbed some water around the edge of my dibber where I was going to apply the clay, and then squeezed it onto there. Then I took the tip of the paintbrush and started digging holes into the clay that I'd added onto the dibber. And look away if you have that weird fear of holes. And so I completely covered the ball of clay in holes, as you can see here, and then left it to dry. Whilst that was drying, I also added a round, smoother tip to the bottom of the dibber, as you can see. And then in the middle of the dibber, I added another ball of clay, this time a lot bigger, and repeated the process of adding lots and lots of holes. Now this needs time to dry, so I put it aside, and then I pulled out my next dibber. I removed the lever as usual, and then got some of my cotton thread. I then wrapped it around the dibber and made sure it was in the position that I liked the most, and then snipped the ends. Then to secure these, I just used a little bit of super glue and then put it aside to dry once more. Then I moved back to my original dibber, which just needed a little bit of touching up with brown paint at the ends where I was holding it. Then I took a shiny gloss coat and applied a little bit at the end of the dibber, as you can see here, just to give it a nice little bit of a finish, before then taking some gold acrylic paint and a thick sponge and then dabbing it all over the dibber, just to give it more of a magical kind of look and to add some depth. I then also took the end where I'd glossed and just brushed some lines of gold on that too, just to make it look like a different type of wood compared to the tip. I then went back to my holy wand and covered that entirely in white acrylic paint. And you can use spray for this, but I just preferred to use acrylic so that it would fill in those little markings that are along the side of the dibber. And then put that aside to dry, took out some yellow paint and started painting all around the other dibber with the thread, making sure to completely coat the thread so that it sunk in and kept it stiff for later. And unfortunately, this is where I lost a bit of footage, but the last step I did was just to add a little bit of glitter all over each of these dibbers, turning them into beautiful wands. The white one based off of Dumbledore's wand, the yellow one based off Hermione's wand, and the brown one I kind of ended up not liking so much. I just kind of wanted a normal looking-ish wand, but then decided to add glitter and then totally regretted it. So I wish I didn't put glitter on that, but it still looks cool and a really super simple easy prop for parties, for kids' costumes and for games. And they only cost £1 each. For the next DIY, I took the metal sign and then sprayed it a nice black colour. I then took some of my cut vinyl pieces, which I had cut previously, and then stuck it down as hard as I could, making sure no air bubbles remained between the vinyl and the sign. I then pulled away at the backing paper, added the last bit of vinyl at the bottom, and then made sure to completely cover all the parts that weren't meant to be sprayed, as that is the next step. So I took it into the garage and completely sprayed it in really nice white colour with speckles of a nice limey green, just to give it more of a magical, creepy kind of rotten effect. And at this point I didn't realise how sticky my vinyl was, and it did pull away a bit at the original black coating. I think it maybe needed to be scratched down or sandpapered down before spraying. However, I did decide to leave it as it is Halloween and you can get away with this kind of stuff, so anything that doesn't look ultra perfect, it doesn't matter, as it is Halloween and it's meant to look creepy and derelict, spooky and old. So I then pulled away at the vinyl, revealing the words and the pumpkin face. I removed the bits between the vinyls that weren't meant to be there, such as the eyes and the parts between the letters. So for example, the holes in A and O and E. And for the parts that were revealed a bit too much and made the wording a little bit hard to read, I just took a little bit of acrylic paint and recovered that. And lastly sprayed the entire thing with a matte coating just to keep it protected from the elements and stop it chipping away or getting ruined too much. A little bit's okay, but not the entire thing falling off. So there you have it, that's a quick little DIY sign. If you don't have a vinyl cutter, you can cut into vinyl yourself by hand, or you can order them online. They're pretty cheap and you can make it say whatever you want with whatever picture you like as well. And the last DIY requires the spinner that we got from Poundland. As you can see, I kept testing out the integrity of the spinner itself and concluded that it was pretty good. I removed the shot glass and then took the spinning mechanism into the garage, where I then sprayed it black entirely, waited for it to dry, and then in the top bit sprayed a lot of green paint, got a paintbrush and made the spray paint drip down to make it look like a really cool cauldron. And for some extra effects, I added just a little bit of gold glitter. Then using some vinyls or stickers again, I took a little bat and applied that to the shot glass itself, which I think looks super cute. I then applied the words drink to the shot glass and of course the words dare to the game's arrow, thus making it a drink or dare game, which I kind of think this game needed, as it needed to be a lot more clear on what the players actually have to do. So this way when you spin it, you can either choose to drink or choose to do a dare, and thus making it a much more fun, spooky game. And of course you can do loads of different shots in this glass. You don't have to have alcohol, although if you do have alcohol you can do spooky themed ones. Or of course spooky coloured drinks work well if you don't drink alcohol too. So there you have it, 4 very simple and easy DIYs made from Poundland materials. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe and leave a comment down below. And stay tuned for Spooky Month, where throughout the month of October I'm going to be trying to make a spooky themed video every single day. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye!